So now we're going to jump into some business examples. The first one is Dell. So I'm sure we've all heard of Dell, right? This is Dell's page devoted to Twitter. Now you don't have to go to this, extreme, but Dell actually has over 20 Twitter accounts listed on this page, and they're segmented by what they're offering. So in this case, they have some that are the Dell Outlet Store. They have Dell Tech Center. They have Dell Home Offers. They have Dell Business Offers, that kind of thing. So if you subscribe to one of these feeds, as they have deals and coupons or whatever it is, you instantly get that, since you subscribe to them. Okay. If in the dry cleaning example here, if you actually had customers or people looking for that kind of cleaning, that would be a way to promote and send out a special. And yes, it's very possible to get a local following. If you're not national, you can network with local professionals as well. And the same thing with Hilton.
See, our concern is a lot of people don't or do not know that they can clean their leather garment.
Well, you could use a push and pull approach. You could have making more awareness for consumers, telling them that, hey, this is something that you can do, and then that pushes it to, your dry cleaners that aren't your customer, and saying, geez, it'd be really cool if you guys hooked up with this company, that kind of thing. I love this example. This is Ford. He follows me, I follow him, and he's a real advocate for social media. His name is Scott Monty, and he heads up the social media for Ford, but also talks about social media on a regular basis. Really funny guy. So if you follow him, you'll see a lot of humor. But some of the things that you can see here is that you typically will see the person's face on a Twitter account. I think the more of this that you do, the better. Say, is there any way to dim the lights a little bit? Because I see people squinting. No? James, is that good for you or no?
Of course not. But, I think we'll be okay for now.
It's so washed out otherwise, I think it's more important to see the content. And James, we're going to put it online anyway, so you'll have access to the PowerPoint. So, and this background he customized. I actually have some information on how to do this so that you can customize your background and have some solid information on how to do that. I'm going to just back up 1 second. I don't know if you can read this or not, but he's following 23,000 people, and that means he could potentially get your message if he follows you. And then he's got 24,000 people that's actually following him. Does anybody know the most followed person on Twitter? Yeah, that's correct. Austin Kutcher. Isn't that kind of sad, just think about that for a second? I was hoping it would be CNN, and I thought Oprah would have beat him out, for sure. But yeah, Austin Kutcher is the most followed. He beat out CNN, was the next closest, and he went over 1 million before anybody else did. Just as a note, it's not about your following list, but the following list is important, but I wouldn't just focus on that component. So these are some fun things you should know about Twitter before getting started. First of all, it's relatively disorganized. This is a great video if you have time for it. This is the URL. It's fairly long, so it's a little hard to write down, but again, we'll have that posted for you. But a really humorous video about Twitter. But I think you have to kind of get a Twitter account and dink with it a little bit before you get all the humor that's out of this. But the main point with this is that you may have your friends and colleagues talking to you on Twitter, but they may or may not choose to say anything, okay? And they may have not even seen what you actually posted. But on the other hand, you have complete strangers that have access to this, so you'll meet people without even trying. So the big difference, and I compare this a lot to Facebook because Facebook has status updates, and that goes to your friends. But Facebook is more for friends, and I would say Twitter is more for kind of people that you don't know. And I think that's why, for business, it has a great application. On I'm sure you've heard, when in the last election, I think Twitter played a major role with Obama. He used it to announce a lot of things that he was doing, and he still uses it now. So it's got a lot of fame. Communications are short, 140 characters. I have to say I was not an early adopter of Twitter. I got a Twitter account very, very early. I think probably around the 2007 era or so. And I know I wasn't alone when a lot of us marketers that market on the web said, this is stupid. What is the point of this? Talking in little haiku sentences all the time, But it kind of evolved, and now it seems normal. And as we've all become time poor, people like to communicate in shorter periods of time and with shorter messages. And so for a lot of people, this is actually kind of replacing email for them. And I would argue, now being fully involved with Twitter, that this is one of the best inventions since email. But in this slide in particular, one of the things that you're going to find is that people use URL shorteners because you're limited to the amount of things that you can put into a tweet, since you only have 140 characters. So this program right here, you actually put in a URL, like a long one. I could take that one that I had that was too long, put it in here, and it spits out this little URL. And the name of the site is called bit.ly. There is a lot of URL shortening services. This is just one that I chose. It's one of my favorite ones because it can give you statistics on your links, so that's one way that you can track it. But you could take a very long URL that could be hundreds of characters, and it will turn it into something that has 7 characters in it.
What's an active link you can click?
Yep, it's a good question. If you post a long link in your Twitter account, Twitter will actually automatically shorten it with a web service called TinyURL, and so it'll actually shorten it for you. But the problem with TinyURL is it doesn't give you tracking stats, and so a lot of people use different ones, and there's like 100 of these things. I mean, there's just a lot of URL redirecting services. TweetDeck, which I hope I get to show you guys how to use TweetDeck, it defaults to bit.ly. So it's very easy to shorten URLs on the fly. And as I said before, Twitter is sometimes referred to as the SMS of the web because the communications are short. This is what really gives the beauty to Twitter. Twitter by itself, using it, is somewhat is not very friendly. And so one of the things that Twitter did is that they have what they call an API, which is an application programming interface. Try saying that a couple times fast. But what it does is it allows software programmers and web developers to design programs to work with Twitter so that it's able to pull information through its back end. And when we look at some of the software programs, you'll see why that's important. And I also attribute that to Twitter's lower retention rate. I think if you get in there and you start trying to do stuff without some of these applications, I think that's where you get lost. So this, I'd like to spend some more time towards the end on how to use this because it's very, very useful. There are hundreds of programs for Twitter, and they all have cool names that usually start with twit this or twit that or whatever it is. I think Webster's Dictionary is going to have a problem with all these words, but there's all these fun words now, like tweeple is a word. So if you're on Twitter, you're a tweeple,